Dan Leach back here at Benzinga's Cannabis Capital Conference in beautiful Chicago, and I'm joined by the man with two A's in his name, Austin Alexander, counsel for Thompson, Hine. It's great to see you.
Yeah, good morning, Dan. Good to see you, too.
So it's your first CCC. I mentioned my first CCC was last year. I got indoctrinated. I was blown away by the vibe. What are you thinking so far?
I think this is incredible. There's so many more people here than I was expecting. Like I said, this is my first time. I'm very excited to walk around the exhibit hall after this. And it's been great. I'm looking forward to the rest of it.
It's great to talk with you. Let's talk about Thompson Hine. For those that don't know, let everyone know what you guys are all about.
Okay, we're a full-service law firm based out of Cleveland, Ohio, but I sit in our Atlanta office. We're a nationwide firm, just opened offices in L.A. and Minneapolis, so we got 400-plus lawyers. If you've got a legal problem, we've got somebody that can help you solve it.
Yeah, it's like back in the day when you had a ghost problem to solve. You call Ghostbusters.
Exactly.
This time, you got a legal problem to solve.
Call Thompson Hine. Yeah.
Now, before we get into your specialty, I know you deal with a lot of bankruptcy and debt issues in this space. I just wanted to get your feeling on the cannabis space as a whole from your perspective and on the legal side of things, because we were talking about how, I was here last year for my first time, not what I expected. In a good way.
Yeah.
Lots of high-level people, lots of people that are serious about putting money and investing in this space and making it the best way it can be. For your point of view, what do you think about where we're at in the cannabis space?
I think that it has come leaps and bounds in the last 5 years as far as legalization on state level efforts. Obviously, the feds have a long way to go to catch up. They have been almost no change in the policy since a decade ago when they decided to stop enforcing it harshly in states where it was legalized. But, we've seen so many more states come to a full legalization, including recreational use. But then there's a bunch of states that have kind of gotten stuck in the medical authorization level, not even fully for that, and no movement towards recreational use, especially kind of in the South where I'm based. So I'm hoping to see a little more movement there.
Yeah, and Austin, you bring up such a great point because this was a big topic of discussion last year, the whole legalization thing and how it hasn't happened yet and how it's crazy that it hasn't happened yet. I know that you specialize more in the bankruptcy and debt part, which we'll get to, but just from the legal perspective, because you're obviously a top-level lawyer, are you surprised that federally, and we've heard rumors, that Trump's administration said maybe they're going to do it, and other administrations, that it hasn't happened yet? It seems like it should have happened 10 years ago.
Yeah, I am very surprised that it has not happened yet, at least rescheduling from Schedule 1. I don't think we're anywhere close to a full federal legalization for recreational use. I hope one day that comes, but I don't think it's going to happen during this administration. But I really was surprised that they didn't get some rescheduling and some loosening of the reins in the past 5 years. And I'm hopeful that this administration will do it, although they have a few people they've put in place that I don't think have positive outlook on cannabis.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There's always a chance.
Well, there's a chance of obviously there being bankruptcy and debt issues as well.
Right.
Let's kind of zero in on your specialty and how your perspective is, as far as cannabis and that being an issue right now that you obviously are very high level dealing with.
Yeah, so as with any industry, any kind of business, there's the opportunity to go bankrupt or to lose all of your money. So even though a lot of people have made a lot of money in the cannabis industry, not everybody's going to be a winner. And one area where every other kind of business can take advantage of, like our constitutionally approved bankruptcy process, cannabis can't. Right now, the U.S. Trustee's Office has a nationwide policy of prohibiting cannabis companies, what they call as plant touching, from being debtors in bankruptcy. And the policy behind that makes sense at first blush because in order to restructure a cannabis company, you have to have people with federal court approval engaging in what is federally illegal activities, selling marijuana. And they just cannot bring themselves to allow the courts to do that. And so that's why they moved to dismiss all of those bankruptcy cases. Where we have seen some opening up is in the non-plant touching entities, where there were questions originally about employees of cannabis companies,
right,
whether or not they could file bankruptcy, and they said that's yes. And then now they have companies that own equity in cannabis companies that are also able to. I think there was another bankruptcy early on where it was a landlord was renting out a warehouse to a cannabis company, and there were questions about whether or not they could be in bankruptcy. And I think the court ultimately said they could because they were not actually selling any marijuana. They were just benefiting from what was an illegal industry.
Where do you see, let's take us out 2, 3, 5 years. Obviously, like you mentioned, we're hoping there's legalization, there's stuff like that. But when it comes to companies needing to be careful to not be in those situations and how the laws are written. Do you see that loosening? Do you see that becoming more strict? I mean, obviously that's going to be key for the growth of this industry.
Do I see there being more access to bankruptcy? Yeah. So if they are able to successfully reschedule marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, then there is a path for companies to be federally compliant, although it's fairly narrow. They'd have to be those kind of like pharmaceutical companies that have access to all of this, where they could file bankruptcy. Because there are a lot of companies that deal with Schedule 3 drugs now that can file bankruptcy. Some high-profile ones maybe, like in recent years. But most of the marijuana industry, like recreational use, would not be legal under that, so they still would not be eligible for this. But there are a lot of state-level processes that people can access where it is state legal, including an assignment for the benefit of the creditors or a receivership in order to kind of get those debts and assets restructured.
Well, Austin Alexander, you lived up to the fact you have 2 A's in your name, because that was an A+ interview.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Dan.
Really appreciate it. Enjoy your first CCC.
All right, I will. Thank you very much.